We are recording, and I'm going to make Otto the host over here. And I'm making you host, Otto. And there you go. Do you want to change? Yes. Okay, you're the host now. We're on speaker view. And I guess we're ready.
Yeah, we're ready. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. For those who are watching this live, thanks for bearing with us. It has been a bit of a process trying to get things working today, but we're here anyway, and normally we'll do this live on other platforms, but not today. So you can ask any questions that come to you, and just make sure that you give enough time and space for everybody who wants to have a chance to participate today to do so. And yeah, you can just unmute yourself when the previous question feels really complete. Make sure you're muted at all times when you're not speaking, and that just helps keep the sound clear. So a couple little blurbs: if you are interested in learning the channel or simply developing intuitive healing gifts, we're launching another course in 3 weeks-ish, and people from the last course had really beautiful experiences that transformed a lot for them. So you can check more about that out on my website, and if you're interested in joining, feel free to contact me and we can feel it out more. And I'm also doing a smaller Patreon community. These live calls and all that I share is kind of supported through Patreon and donations. So if you want to join, you can be a part of a community where there will be sort of more private calls that aren't a bit deeper. There seems to be a bit of a call for this. So if that's interesting to you, you can join the Patreon group, and you can support the session with donations via PayPal or Venmo, or joining on Patreon, whatever works for you, if you feel called for that support. I think those are all the things that I'm having to say before we begin. Yeah, don't knock it over again. So
Dante,
again,
your
thank you for your
bandwidth
patience. And
your bandwidth is going down a little. Sorry to interrupt.
are you losing any of the connection?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it made your video smaller, but we're still hearing what you're saying. I just wondered.
It made my video smaller?
Yes, yeah.
What does that mean?
Now it's big again.
Okay.
Smaller and a bit choppy.
Yeah, the video might not be good today, so let's see where it goes. Hello, greetings to you. We thank you for connecting with us this moment of your time. As the Pleiadian Council, we speak on behalf of a galactic alliance of light and many guides wishing to support your planet through this process you call ascension. It is an honor for us to meet you as we enjoy these explorations through the reflections that you offer us, as much as we can support you in your own way in this conscious evolution. So, as we come to meet you, it is always our intention that the information that we share allows you to integrate more of these higher frequencies in your life for your entire planet to transform. And we talk about following the truest calling of your heart, allowing love to guide you in all that you do, so that you may be filled with the unconditional love of Source and allow for that energy to ripple out through all your actions. Also, what is equally important, a part of the equation, is to let go fully of resistance, to allow yourself to free flow and allow for all of the negative and fear-based perspectives that you may hold within you to fall away, so that you are not allowing for any sort of stagnation or interference. So today we would again speak to this idea of resisting the darkness, or resisting even the idea of evil. Because this concept of evil is merely something you as humans have invented. There is genuine negative energy in the world, though when you describe it as evil, you give energy to it, and you, more importantly, create resistance in yourself that prevents you from fully living in your own flow. So, first of all, you may sometimes fear that darkness within you can prevent you from going in the direction you would prefer. Limiting beliefs that is common in your world is such that there is something fundamentally bad about you, and this belief and the energy behind it can lead you to interpret any of your mistakes or negative emotions as something that means you are not worthy, when really you can only embody all of your worth and all of your true potential through genuine acceptance of what is in the moment. And so oftentimes you have to accept that if you follow your passion, and if you live your heart, it may come along the way, and projection from others may come along the way, and you may be perceived in ways that you do not prefer to be perceived. Yet, what other people perceive in you is not really the goal. You must remember, the path to ascending, to embodying your highest potential, is through living your love in every moment. And to some, this will appear as something, yet it is because of their own limiting conditioning. You can let go of the idea of anyone beyond you may really got you to the dark.
No, he's gone.
Okay, we just lost him. He was getting, his bandwidth was going down and
right.
down. Are you there?
Back
Oh, here
again.
he is again. Is he back?
Yes.
Are you back?
Oh, how
Okay.
much did you lose?
Perhaps the last
Just the
minute.
tail end. Yeah.
How much did you lose of that?
From the time you were saying about following your love, your heart in what you do.
All right.
About the last
Yeah.
minute or so.
You
Yes.
talked about the not letting other
Again,
people's opinions, and then you went into it's what you
remembering.
Yeah.
It is all right. We understand. We understand. We understand. So, as we were saying, the path to embodying your highest potential is through following your own heart, what uniquely fills you with love. And as you do that, there will be other people who do not experience that energy in the same way that you do. They may interpret through their own limiting belief systems. And in a way, you have to accept those potential projections in order to move forward, knowing that when you are filled with love and allow that energy to reach those it is intended to reach, any mistakes or any projections along the way are simply a part of the process. Now, let us speak as well to this idea of darkness that is outside of you. Because while your planet is certainly ascending and growing and evolving, there is an old energy that is being released from your world. And rather than see the difference between seeming light and dark, good and evil, if you perceive this difference between those who are aligned with serving others, serving the collective versus serving themselves and themselves alone, that gap will disappear. And you will understand that you are still one with those who may seem dark. There is no separation. It is only from the standpoint of negativity that there is a separation. So that seeming negative end of the spectrum are beings who are purely serving their own interest. And they do not care if they destroy or harm others in the process. Those who are serving the benefit of others, the benefit of the collective, are still to an extent serving themselves in the same way that you have to be charged up, tuned in, taking care of your needs, living your own dreams in order to inspire and support and contribute to the bigger process of well-being. So in that sense, not all selfishness is service to self and self alone, because you have to build yourself up in order to truly give back. And again, in recognizing that everybody in your world is experiencing to an extent both of these ideas, serving the benefit of all and serving themselves alone. You come to yourself, in which ways do I stop the flow of energy into the world for others? Because I think if I do so, I will lose out on what I need and what I want. And by pushing yourself a little bit further every time and giving a little bit more every time, you will see that the more you give out, the more you can receive in return. So then when it comes to these seeming big, dark, negative forces in your world, you must understand that they cannot continue to siphon energy from people who do not fear them. And when you oppose in such a way that you inspire others to fear anyone you deem evil, you are actually helping those same people you are deeming evil. If you take this beyond to astral planes, if you understand the idea of negative entities, we would say that even those beings are not evil. They are simply souls who on their evolutionary path got lost and veered off in this direction of feeling separate from source and feeling they must take from others and serve themselves instead. And these souls, whether they are on astral planes as disembodied entities or as the leaders of your world causing destruction, are actually some of those beings in the greatest degrees of pain. Because again, the service of others is what allows you to embody your clearest connection to source. When you feel the power of great light and love pouring through you and back into the collective, and feel the power of your vessel as a channel for positive energy, you experience the highest states of bliss. Yet those who are simply bent on taking energy and taking energy will only experience cycles of desperation and reward that keep them forever in the muck of things. And when you understand that, you can have compassion for them, and you can recognize that to fear them does nothing positive at all, but to recognize them as another version of you, them as a reflection of you, and seeing what you can gain from staring into that mirror and confronting it. Seeing perhaps new ways of viewing yourself and the world through the lens of imagining what it must be like to be one of those seeming negative beings can help you to truly understand your own goodness and understand your own orientation and the need to continue to expand yourself into giving more and more into the collective. And as well understanding that the way you are meant to give is not what everyone expects from you, but it is the unique way that you express yourself. That is the key to breaking past the barriers of feeling as if giving to the collective is sacrificing something in your own right. And that is one of the tricks that makes many people seem desiring that path of negative, self-oriented only expression and service. When you understand that you serve through your uniqueness and you sacrifice nothing, because the more you give, the more you receive, the more you can be an example of that, and the more that you stand together in that loving energy, supporting your planet's growth together, the less power any of those negative forces can really have. So that was a bit of a rehash of ideas we have shared before, though for these times it has felt important, as you are now moving past that point in your northern hemisphere of the equinox of the fall, where you are now again moving into the darkness. And you may witness in the coming months more expressions of darkness and control, yet you can see through that darkness that this is only an experiment that is helping you to slingshot yourselves forward into the light. That in a larger scale sense, you have already broken through the threshold, but now you will witness what is occurring at that energetic level, transpiring on your physical plane, and seeing the ways that the old negative structures are truly collapsing. And it is something to be celebrated, though it will not be easy when you are resisting the transformation. And it will not be easy when you resist the darkness that you may see in others. When you can accept others and everything as an expression of perfection in the moment that is leading you to find your own inspiration of how to channel your love into your reality, you will transmute that energy and use it in a purely positive way. So we thank you again for allowing this transmission. And then we would ask, how can we support you this time with any of your questions and reflections that you have whenever you would wish to begin?
I have a question. This is Laurel. I sometimes experience some sort of something. I don't quite know how to explain it, but it can happen when I'm going to or trying to go to sleep at night. Just kind of an energy that comes in and feels like a contraction, and I don't like it. And I think that's why it happens. And then yesterday, I don't often get it in meditation, but yesterday I was meditating and it was like I felt this energy because I was getting in a nice peaceful zone, and then there was the fear. I think it goes that there's the fear that it will come in, and then it comes in. It may be something that I've detected long ago in myself, that there's a fear of fear. And another thing I've detected in myself is, when I ask myself, what is my fear about? And often the answer is, I'm afraid of myself. So could you speak to the fear of fear and actually being more worried about my inner life and my own self-sabotage than, in a way, more than other people?
Yes. You are, in a sense, fearing fear and resisting resistance. So one thing that will help you is simply integrating the understanding that what you are attracting is much of the time unconscious. So you come to understand that you create your reality through vibration, through attraction and resonance. And for many people, this is wondrous, but it brings this same issue for many others as well. You start to think that everything that you feel can potentially attract to you something, positive or negative. But because you witness this occurring in real time, you then create a battle against that negativity. Yet, beneath the surface, you are attracting things all the time. So you may feel happy on a superficial level, but any of the fear that you are not tapping into beneath the surface is still working as an attractor. And so you have to be willing to dig deep into it, because it is only when you feel it without resisting it and without pushing it away that it actually transforms and dissolves. So can you feel the fear? Can you feel the resistance? Can you accept that feeling without fighting it?
I hope so. I feel like I might need some assistance through a counselor or something.
That might be useful. Though you do already practice some form of meditation, yes?
Yes, generally.
So even when you are laying in bed and you feel this fear coming, you can use that as an opportunity to practice moving energy through your being. And instead of working against the fear, feel where it sits in your body and bring all of your focus there. And start to draw in energy with your breath. Imagine perhaps that your breath is drawing in energy from your crown chakra, from your connection to source, and bringing that energy and that awareness into the place where there is fear. And as you exhale, feel that energy move through your body, attempting to allow any energy that may be stuck to flow through your whole being. And as you do this, simply notice your thoughts without giving energy to them.
Energy to what?
Your thoughts. Because much of the time when the fear of the fear builds, it is because you start to think about the feeling itself. So the key is to not think about the feeling and simply feel it. And you can imagine anything that brings you joy. Perhaps you imagine dolphins swimming in through your breath and dancing around in that place where you are feeling the fear. Or perhaps you imagine butterflies flowing through your body with every breath. The butterflies fly in and carry some dust away as the fear lifts from your body. It doesn't matter what you visualize specifically, as long as it feels fulfilling to you, though thinking about the feeling, because you create new layers of resistance every time you are attempting to psychoanalyze yourself in this way, when really all you need to do is accept yourself in that state and accept what you're feeling and appreciate the degree of unconditional love that is being offered to you continuously by Source, and mirror that unconditional love by loving yourself unconditionally.
Okay, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, so thanks to you as well.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Greetings, Pleiadian Council, and thank you very much for doing what you're doing. My question is the following. Once Ryok from the Essassani civilization suggested that one way that we can attract our desired reality is to imagine that reality, viscerally imagine it with our full body and emotions, and then take an action, minimal action that is representative of the reality that we wish to attract. And for example, say if I want to attract a paradise on earth, aka me shifting into that version of reality, what would that representative action would be in this situation? Or let's say in the situation that I want to attract a specific person into my existence as a romantic partner, let's say, a different example. Could you have some ideas of certain representative actions for those situations?
Yes. Well, here the idea of creating a visual image is actually more of a tool that supports you in experiencing the frequency of that reality. So if you are imagining then a utopian world, what feeling does a utopian world bring about within you? And then it would mean that you take whatever action brings you to feel a little bit more of that feeling. So in the example of a utopian world, you may feel an immense sense of freedom and connection with others and generosity. And so your embodiment of that particular example would then mean one way that you can amplify your sense of freedom, connection to others, and generosity. If you want to create a romantic connection, you go into this sort of visualization and get immersed in the feeling of a deep connection with a partner. And the feeling that brings up in your body would likely be one of pleasure, of empathy, of sexuality, of openness. Well, everyone will have their own sort of feeling. It will bring up unique things, as you all have unique ways of relating to others. Though then what you would do would be to take an action that makes you feel a little bit more of the certain emotions you felt in the vision.
Yeah. You still here? Yeah. Ah.
Yes, did you hear all of that?
The last word I heard was vision. Then it stopped, the connection. Could you please repeat?
No, the connection didn't stop. We simply stopped speaking.
Uh-huh. And I couldn't hear that. What was the action? Because the emotion, I know how to generate the emotion as already having that reality, but Ryuk said that we have to take an action to close the circuit.
Yes, you do.
Because we are in
the action
reality.
is different for everybody. Again, it is any action that makes you feel a little bit more of that emotion associated with a particular vision you're focusing on.
And could you have an example? Do you have a specific example for this type of, let's say, a paradise on earth? I would like to attract an utopian reality. What would be an action that would make me amplify those emotions or have a bit more of those emotions?
It would be anything, again, that amplifies those feelings for you. So in a way, for us to fill in the gap for you prevents you from fully owning in your own right your unique way of cultivating that energy. For somebody, it could be going out and picking up trash. For other people, it could be starting an online community. For some people, it could be protesting and organizing a conscious change in the collective thinking patterns. For some people, it would be creating science projects that are oriented towards better recycling practices. These examples would totally fit the mold for some people, but not for you. So you have to find that unique expression that will fill you with all of the feelings that you uniquely feel when you focus on your unique vision of a utopian reality.
But wouldn't protesting action be still representative of the old reality, for example?
Not always. Most of the time, no. Some of the time, yes. It depends on the degree of resistance expressed within the protest. If you are standing for something you want to see in the world, and you have to protest something and create a sort of political resistance, that political resistance is not synonymous with energetic resistance.
I see. Thank you very much. And the second question, if I may, it's okay.
There's a lot of us on the call. It feels like we should go to the next people. I don't know how many people on the call have questions. What do you
I
think?
know.
I think perhaps we can continue and then we can come back to Luca. if
Okay, but
there's,
can it be a little bit succinct? It's hard to listen, to long questions, at least for me.
Yeah, my question was quite succinct, yeah. It was
right,
about
yes.
a permission
Let's continue.
for transforming sexual energy into creative mental energy. That would be all. If it had. Or I could wait for our next
Transforming
turn.
this sexual energy into creative mental energy.
Yes, if you have a permission slip for that. Transforming or raising sexual energy
Yes.
through Kundalini. Yeah. That's it.
Yes. Well, we would start off by breathing into this abdominal area and imagining as you breathe into it, you create a charge of energy. Continue breathing with the focus on building this charge of energy in your pelvis and abdomen from the area between your genitals and your navel point. There are many practices of this nature in various traditions, so this is the simplest way we can put it. So breathing here, building that energy, ideally in a sitting or standing position at first. And as you start to feel the charge of that energy, breathe into it, but on the exhale, intend for that energy to travel up your body. Start with focusing that energy into your spinal column and imagine it going to the top of your head. And then continue by imagining the energy moving up your body through the entire length of your body, the entire width of your body as well. So breathing into that area of charge in your abdomen and exhaling, letting the energy expand up to your brain. And continue doing this until your whole body has that same sensation that you initially felt in the abdomen. And then as you get used to this practice, you can continue it by cultivating sexual energy and following it in the same way. So perhaps with yourself or with another, you experience your sexuality, you experience pleasure, and again, you inhale breathing into it and exhale, imagining that energy flowing up to your brain, and doing this until you again feel a sexual pleasure in all parts of your body, not just generally focused, but through every cell, every pore of your body, all the way up into your face. So that practice will help you very much in raising this energy in a conscious way and allowing it to flow through your being in all that you do. Understand again that all of your life is sexual, as you are all sexual beings. So as you cultivate more of this awareness, you live through pleasure. You focus on every movement and everything you do for the pleasure that you can derive from it, and know that that pleasure is adding to the creative potential within you.
Thank you very much for this sublime answer and for everything.
Yes, no, thanks to you as well.
Thank you, Luca. Sorry that I was kind of rude there. I just, I noticed I'm getting triggered by certain questions, which is my work to do. Maybe I'll pose that question to the Pleiadians. I notice for me that when someone's asking a question and it feels like an obvious question, there's a lot of judgment that I have. There's a lot of like impatience, and I would like to be more compassionate and patient, even when it feels like a question is just like superfluous. I mean, I'm sure it would be superfluous for me, but it's not superfluous for that person, obviously, because they're asking it. So I just want to apologize to anyone I've ever cut off or been impatient with. And I also want to ask, yeah, is there a practice I can do for that impatience?
Yes. Well, first of all, it begins with extending compassion for yourself, because all compassion for the other must begin with compassion within yourself for what you are experiencing as a trigger. And simply then you use the experience of being triggered as a way into working on your own healing and growth, breathing into wherever there may be that tension and pulling in love, acceptance, and then coming to understand that in this case, everybody is on their own path, on their own level, and learning uniquely what will help them in their growth process. So you can use this as a great reward. When you are hearing somebody pose a question that you have an answer to, it means that you are capable of answering those questions for many individuals. And in that sense, you can use this both as a way to work on yourself and also as an affirmation that you are understanding to a degree a higher metaphysical level that will allow you to be of greater service. And sometimes in other circumstances, when you are feeling as if the information is not really suiting you, that can also be an indication that you are meant to be focusing your attention in other directions. So with those different tips, you can creatively work out in all of these situations what to do with your energy, and understand that it is a gift for you in some way when you learn how to use that trigger in a supportive, balanced way.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I have a second question. So I started my Riding the Wings of Joy class in the end of October, and I'm still loving the community in that class. Amanda's here. And I'm loving being able to be in a leadership role and serving and bringing forth valuable information. And I feel like I'm not like in that super high like joy state that I was when I started the class. I feel more like, but I don't feel like I've gone backwards. I feel like I'm deeper into the embodiment of unconditional joy, instead of joy being an idea in like a holodeck in my mind. Joy feels like it's becoming a full practice, as in every breath that I take. It's a different level of embodiment. And in that level of embodiment, I'm wondering what my next step is in serving. I'm still teaching my class, of course, and loving that. But I'm wondering, the timeline, the time frame, do you see a certain sort of pause right now in this deeper embodiment? And then more coming out publicly in a service of a different kind of action, different kind of class? I guess that's my question, the timeline.
Yes. You can consider embodying different aspects of joy that, in a sense, you may be focused on actively creating that joy. There is also a degree of joy that you can simply passively take in all moments. It is the tuning into your higher self at all times that allows every action and every non-action to equally be a way to experience that joy. And equalizing that flow of energy so that you don't need to do anything to experience the joy. You know that the joy is always rising within you, will be an even greater support. And you can also see that now you are beginning this period of a Mars retrograde cycle. So for the next month, it is time to reflect on your actions and reflect on how you attempt to create in the world and not necessarily break, though act in slower, more conscious ways, taking time to remember that it is not how fast you do it, but it is what you do and the way that you do it and the depth of awareness with which you do it that makes all the difference.
I see. Thank you so much.
Oh yes, thanks to you as well. Logically, the Mars retrograde concludes not long after your class ends, so there will be new momentum to pick up.
Cool. Thank you. And do you have any insight into why we're having difficulty going live on Facebook right now? Is there some kind of a disconnect between my energy and Facebook? Or is it just technology? Is it ever just technology? I don't think so.
Yes, it is a bit of both. A technological hiccup that is in turn related to the resistance to this social platform, though simultaneously there is a energetic agreement between everyone here today to participate in this way in a more focused manner rather than allow for the energy to disperse. Of course, it expands initially as you share it on these platforms, though to an extent it is dispersed by inviting in so many text-based questions. And now you have the access to a more focused time and space among yourselves. So we thank you, in a sense, for creating this particular setup.
You're very welcome. I'm glad my frustration served the good.
So if anyone has a question, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
until anyone else thinks I could have another question.
I
It's
think
okay.
I feel there's others still, because there's quite a few in the call. I can go ahead as well, but I just felt to give some
Okay. Go.
space.
Maybe go ahead, Otto, and then if there's no one else, Luca can ask again. And because I have more questions, we can make it a more concentrated call.
Right.
I'll send more money than I would have,
Right.
you know, if I ask more questions. So we can do it that way.
Right. Okay. Hey, Council. Yeah, thanks again for being with us in this way and sharing your energy, love, and support and wisdom.
Oh, thanks to you as well.
So I guess first part of my question, I've been experiencing quite a bit of exhaustion and sort of lack of energy. And at the same time, it has been, you know, emotional equivalents that I can, you know, relate it to. So yeah, I guess first part of my question is just how much of it is connected to that versus of being more of the, you know, energies lately that is moving through my system and is causing this, and more also that my body has been sort of catching up from an infection and kind of like is in need of detox, or in that way cleansing. So yeah, I'm asking about how much of it is that on the, I'm being asked now to take care of my physical body and just take it easy and while also perhaps detoxing, versus how much is connected more to my current emotional process and something that I'm not looking at.
Again, it is all interrelated. So simultaneously, bring your focus into every aspect. The physical detox, the emotional detox, and the spiritual activation all together will help your energy come back online. And again, they are interrelated and simultaneous. So always remember, it is never just one thing, it is always everything. In terms of your physical well-being, as you continue to take those things that help your body detox and to exercise and get sunlight, even especially swim if you can, you will find a relief in those symptoms. The exhaustion is also related to those experiences of sadness that has been stagnant. So you may seek clearer relationships, clearer means of connecting with others, where you can share your joy and your sadness together, and trust that through connecting and through expressing yourself in all of the ways that feel alive, you will allow for a return to a sort of exuberance, a greater passion for life. In a sense, while you have not necessarily been tuned into everything taking place in your world mentally, energetically, you've been engaged, and allowing the stagnation that is currently expressing through the collective to in turn express through you. So there is a stronger sense of having to push against the current than usual. And it is in that pushing against the current that you actually develop the greatest strength. Imagining perhaps salmon that have to swim upstream to return to their place of birth, where they will also bring forth new generations. It is in a sense like that for many now, where it feels as if the current is working against you, yet you are not aware of the strength you have to start pushing against the current, and you are not aware of all of those other tribe members, soul friends that would be willing to support you and make the journey easier.
Right. Thank you. And so when experiencing this kind of validity and exhaustion, now it is invited in a sense to gather the strength and the sort of, yeah, to, for a lack of better expression, push through, or maybe not push through, but to move against the current, rather than sort of resting and taking it as like my system needs to rest because I feel like exhausted. It's more of getting that activation back.
Yes,
is what we're saying, and then there is still some detoxing that will assist in energy, more energy, I suppose, as well on a physical level.
yes. As you challenge yourself to build momentum, you may find that exhaustion persists. Though, notice that perhaps when you simply choose to just rest, you don't actually rest as deep as you would if you, before resting, chose to challenge yourself just a bit. And the reward of that challenge and the energetic breakthrough that comes with bringing yourself a little bit closer to the vibration of where you really would prefer to be will help you then benefit fully from the rest that you do choose to take. And in that back and forth, the detox will happen. And of course, as you have awareness of, there are certain tools that you have and practices that you have that can support the accelerated physical detox that will in turn be a foundation to challenge yourself in those ways that are exciting.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks to you as well.
Hello, and thank you for this transmission, Great Pleiadian Council.
Oh, well, thanks to you. Yes.
I want to ask a question that we may have treaded on prior, yet I understand a bit further after having practiced what you have suggested. It is in regards to an emotional blocker, or two of them linked, created by a childhood experience really early on. And I consciously understand how to let go, yet emotionally and subconsciously, whenever I attempt to reunite with, let's say, the perpetrators, which created those blockers, fully understanding that they did not actively choose to create this, and that I can thank them because it actually led me to understanding more and more wisdom, and it brought me to you guys and various others. Well, whenever I attempt to get into that loving aspect with them, the emotion kind of surges up again and pops up as, not necessarily rage, but it just blocks this visualization along with attempting to visualizing receiving or giving, in a sense. So it's all emotional. It's not logical, yet I was wondering if there was a way to move away from those blockers and actually being able to flow this love to them as well.
Have you practiced some form of inner child work?
This seems to be part of the difficulty as well. At times, attempting to go into that visualization, there seems to be a natural dissuading to go back to that time.
Are you aware that the purpose of going back to that time is to create a new memory?
Yes, I consciously understand the repetition of that memory. The thing that
No, it
seems
is to create a new memory. It is so that you stop repeating the same negative experience, but instead you remember added on details that support a complete integration of that past experience.
That's what I kind of meant as well. Sorry, I better add more words. I do understand that process consciously and have done it a few times, maybe counting on hand. There just seems to be an interesting resistance to repeating the new memories and diving into that acceptance.
Well, then you may want to ask yourself, what are you gaining from resistance?
The odd part, which I could answer for this, is that flare energy that kind of comes up. It's not rage, but it could turn into it if I don't control it.
Yes. So you are gaining a sense of control through neglecting to look at what you know you need to look at.
To a certain degree, maybe the emotion is, I don't know, it seems to be tied to it.
Yes. There is still a powerful charge of emotion lodged in the past and within your energy body. So it is important to release your own control of your emotional body itself, understanding that when you attempt to force yourself to feel a certain way, rather than gently guide yourself in the direction you prefer, you will always create a strong back and forth motion. It's like pulling against a rubber band that's keeping you way down. So you actually have to go all the way back to where the rubber band is attached to and cut it off from its inception point. It is a strange sort of rubber band, you could say then, because you cannot cut it off from where it's tied to you. You have to go back to what it initially attached to. And so you can see that every time you attempt to control or attempt to move far beyond, the rubber band pulls you back and you end up right back where you were. And you will keep doing this until you can accept where you are and where you go is where you need to be. And that it is when you allow yourself to feel fully this energy that you say has a potential to become anger, that has a potential to become something uncontrollable. When you simply surrender to it and trust that an aspect of your own inner power is lodged within that energy that you are not owning up to. So by, again, continuously repeating that pattern of accepting this past experience and transforming your relationship to it by reliving it and creating the new overlay, you will dislodge this energy. And in turn, you will then be able to love and greet with acceptance those people in your life that may have been in a negative role in your past. You may come to understand as well that your resistance to these individuals is also a way that you can attempt to stay in control of those situations. And when you fully release this, there will be no need to control any of it. You will be in an unconditionally accepting place, and you'll also have strong boundaries so that none of the ways that these people once hurt you can be reenacted.
Great, thanks for this. I'll give it as many rounds as I can. I would also maybe ask a minor, what would be a recommended visualization practice? Or maybe, let's say a symbol to remember, some kind of a sigil or something to continuously remember this as, let's say, a negative visualization would kind of come back and try to bring this again.
Try to bring what?
Would try to bring this feeling or this maybe hinder the process from time to time.
Well, again, we have to say part of the intention here is not being fully expressed, because again, you have to release your resistance to the emotion that is resurfacing when you are having the memory come back. So you cannot fight it. And to use a symbol or any tool to fight or suppress it will keep the cycle. If you want to use a symbol to empower yourself in your meeting of this energy and to help you cultivate a true sense of non-resistance, the symbol we would suggest would be that of the yin-yang, which would serve as a reminder that within all that is negative or dark, there is that portal into the light. And when you see the whole picture, there is nothing that is purely good or bad, and everything has the potential to be used for good. So this symbol then will help you to greet everything with equanimity. And when you can do that, nothing can slow you down or hold you back.
Massive thanks. Thanks again. This is amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to you as well.
Would it be possible for me to ask a question?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
If you can speak, that is, it is possible.
Well, hi. I definitely resonate a lot with the previous, the processes that you're describing, Josh. And if you're the same Josh as the last time I was on, that makes sense. Like we talked about it last time. But my question for right now, and I touched on this the last time I was in here, how can I know, and then the second part will be how do I work with it? But how can I know what is an altar, what is a walk-in, and what is me just channeling stuff that's outside of my higher soul? And how do I work with that? Because I get this all the time right now. And it's even hard for me to distinguish sometimes, like, what is the true past of this timeline that I'm in versus a walk-in that is so strongly attached to me. Like I get confused because I have such a wide amount of memories of this Molly, you know, like different timelines of Molly, completely other lives of mine. It gets overwhelming. Like how can I be grounded where I am and know what is what, basically? Are there any practices that can help me with that?
Yes. Well, first we can talk about simply refining your awareness. And we would say that nothing that you channel is not a part of your higher self or your oversoul.
I do understand that, yeah.
Your oversoul is so vast that for your entire lifetime, you will continuously meet new aspects of it. It is unlimited in its scope, really.
Yeah,
so
that's what I felt.
Everything you are meeting is you. And in the sense of an altar, we would say that these show up and will feel harsh or in some way negative. Whereas when you are channeling these higher aspects, it will feel loving and flowing. It can feel a bit alien or a bit odd or unfamiliar, though the altar will feel like something you have known from this lifetime, whereas these other aspects will feel like something you've known always, but are finally coming to remember now.
Okay, so a walk-in, maybe I just don't fully understand the concept then, because I was basically starting to question my own like past, like my own really traumatic past. It's like this sick game I play with myself with like a pair of glasses. It's like one lens I can see that past, and then another lens I'm like, am I just making this shit up in my brain? But then I also do still have these alters, and so something definitely must have happened, or I'm just too psychic. I get really confused with myself sometimes when I'm in a not super grounded space.
That's all right, because again, you must understand that part of your unique experience of trauma or fragmentation has come about through confusion. So confusion is the primary energy that you will be transmuting through this process.
That's helpful
for
to
this
know.
purpose, you need to remember then that there's no difference as to whether you actually experienced it or whether or not you are making it up. The therapeutic value and the unraveling that will occur through exploring it will take place either way.
That helps a lot. I thought I was muted. Sorry. That helps a lot. And yeah, that's really helpful. Hearing that confusion is one of the main things that I'm transmuting resonates a lot. And it's like opening a lot of internal doors for me. So thank you very much. I think I'm good for the moment.
Oh, you're welcome. And we will say finally that the altar is a fragment of self. It is an archetype within you that is created through trauma that can sometimes become a dominant personality. A walk-in would be an entirely separate soul that would come into your body.
Okay, now I'm understanding. So yeah, I definitely understand how what that difference is then and how that feels. One more thing actually, which was kind of one of the things that was tying over from the previous question was when Josh was talking about this anger. For me, in terms of like alters, this is how my suppressed anger comes out. And I've been having this happen recently where I'll have an alter come to the front and take over. And for example, like I'm spending this month with my partner, and there was one time that just this anger came out for no reason, and this person was in the front, and only after the fact, and they were like arguing with him for absolutely like nothing basically. And when I came back, I felt awful and terrible. And like, this doesn't happen a ton generally, but it does happen sometimes where it's like, if anything, it's like frustration, irritation / anger. It's like this little door that gets opened for this altar of mine to just jump to the front. And it's like their opportunity to come out. And I just, are there any tips that you might have for how to deal with that or integrate it? Because the fact that it keeps popping up over the past little while, it's like I definitely want to integrate it. I've just not had much success so far.
Yes. You can see perhaps that this anger is a rotting fruit. And at its core, there is a seed that will blossom into a whole new tree. And in a sense, you have to shed away the layers around the anger to get to its core. The core is that of empowerment. And as we suggested last time, when you meet these altars in a different sort of state and help them to fulfill their needs, you can unify that altar as one with you, and therefore it can no longer hop in or derail you. And there is more work to do in this process, and you can specifically bring the focus to seeing how the altar's anger can become your own empowerment. What the altar expresses in an angry way, you can express in a balanced, harmonious way. It is expressing what you need and what you are not available for. And in your past, these aspects of yourself could only create any sort of boundary with anger. And you keep doing this unconsciously because it was successful. Your anger in the past is what made you capable of surviving. But now it is not a matter of getting rid of the anger, because if you got rid of it, you would also get rid of that seed of empowerment. So embrace the anger and direct it inward to excavate it and use it for what it's worth. And know that when you start to feel the anger come up, you can take a pause and affirm to yourself, right now I am seeking to empower myself in some way. What am I really attempting to gain? Is it boundaries? Is it a better sort of engagement with this person? And how can I take a step there consciously? You may even want to say to yourself and say to the other, I need a moment to pause. Can we return to this in 3 minutes? And take the time to really embrace that energy. Imagine the energy of the altar's anger as a fire that starts to spread through your body. And as the fire burns, it allows for any of the resistance and any of the negative ways that you have used in the past to survive to transform into healthy ways of communication, balanced and easy perception. And after you let the fire burn, then continue to interact and state what you want from an easier, gentler place.
That makes a lot of sense and thematically resonates a lot for me and for the system. So thank you very much.
Yes, our thanks to you as well.
I have a follow-up question on that part. I just wanted to check in if there is anyone first who haven't.
Oh, you may continue.
Okay. So when this was shared, it may have been shared multiple times, but in a previous channeling, I believe it was Molly as well, that shared about her experience with altars, and I had a strong resonance within my field and body as she shared her story and what was coming through that time. And I don't know, it could have been just that I was, you know, touched by it, but it felt like there was something there. Now, when then in the past month or so, I've had some experiences of going quite strongly into different emotional states and also switching from one to the other. And at the time, I was sort of associating it with, it felt like I was clearing some ancestral and sort of within the family line where there is we could say schizophrenic and psychotic sort of patterns there, and so that is what I associated it with. But I suppose my question is in regards to some of these things that have been in the last month, or perhaps before as well, in my experience, of whether that is in any way connected to altars, or if it's more about, I don't know, sometimes it might be this incarnate beings, it might be some other kind of energies that have come into my field just because I've been open and as I'm going through these denser emotions, or it is just that I'm purging it on that level and it has nothing to do with other than my own emotional experience and perhaps being a bit ungrounded and mindless in it.
In various experiences, you may find connections that you would describe as interference taking place, though we wouldn't encourage you to focus on this at all, because it is not through clearing the seeming interference from other entities or from your ancestral lineage that you will really get to the core of it for yourself. So understand that it is, again, these altars or fragments of self that attract matching disharmonic forces. So it is working with the energy at that level that will serve you. And we see you as quite skilled in moving through them, though it is also important to remember that the solution comes when you embody the opposite emotion. So the dance back and forth between negative and positive is, in a way, an indication that you are being led in the right direction. And when you can fully focus on what brings you to experience that positive frequency, it will allow for those past selves to integrate rather automatically. So in that sense, you said it yourself that the key is to ground, because when you are grounding yourself and you are stable, the dance back and forth between extremes cannot wear on you or make you lose your center in the same way that it has done.
Right. Yeah, and this resonate, I was getting that as well, that this sort of the interference part is not relevant at this point. When it comes to the idea of altars, like is that something that is relevant for me in terms of understanding whatever these different parts would like or need, or is it more of in the ways that I have been approaching my emotional healing lately, or just continuing in that and then reinforcing the positive states, or is there something for me to understand a little bit more of these parts and what they want?
Well, you can use these terms of altars and parts or fragments of self interchangeably, really. So whichever term works best for you, you can work with that one. And yes, there are still some at work, though that is common and there's nothing bad about it. It's simply awareness to bring into which aspects of self are still alive and needing integration. You can notice when they, in a way, will attempt to sabotage a flow that you come into. Notice exactly what false sense of fear do they generate, and what do they do in order to compensate for that. So once you recognize that pattern, you are very keyed into that specific alter or fragment of self, and you can go inside to meet that being and show them that their attempts to create safety or control are really unneeded and that everything is okay. And you can help them find healing in the ways that you know how.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks. Does that clear it up for you?
Yes, I will continue explore, and I feel that there is more guidance that come through, and I'll listen to it again. I think what is sort of a little bit what is fresh or is new is perhaps you know, starting to meet it, you know, without perhaps without personifying it more than necessary, but still sort of really meeting it as something that I can have some kind of communication with and understanding with, so that it can integrate within me. So that is what I'm exploring, and I believe I have the tools to do that now.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we thank you and wish you well on that journey, trusting that as you meet these parts with compassion and meet all aspects of yourself with compassion, your integration will be seamless.
Can I ask a question? Are you guys done?
Yes, please go ahead.
We are.
Hello? May I
Yes,
ask?
we are here.
Oh, thank you. This is a unique
Well, you
circumstance.
did just ask a question.
Oh, yes. May I ask a real question? So I just asked another one. So I was curious if I could ask a question on behalf of my friend. Now, I just tried calling her to see if she could ask it, but she didn't answer, and I didn't get a chance to ask her if I could ask on her behalf, but I feel that she would say yes for me to ask this on her behalf. I'm just wondering if I would be allowed to ask this on my friend's behalf for your, do I have your permission to do this?
Well, go ahead and ask it and we'll let you know what we can do about it.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious about my friend's relationship with her partner. She has a lot of questions about this as well. And he is often very reactive and goes into like these kind of repetitive mental loops. And it's almost like he's like running a program. I wouldn't necessarily call it an entity, but it might be a form of an entity where he kind of like his presence is gone and he's kind of in defense mode. So he seems to get defensive and reactive a lot, emotionally reactive, kind of storms off, kind of does these things, gets reactive, yells, etc. And I was talking with her about that, and I didn't really know what to say to her. I was kind of encouraging her to interrupt that pattern, by like walking out of the room or saying, let's not talk right now, or just not feeding it, not responding to it. And I'm just kind of wondering what a good solution or moving forward would be. Like, I thought maybe they could have a talk when he's not reactive to discuss how things will be approached when anybody is reactive, like how they can kind of, like some signal that will bring him back into his body, or make, you know, or that he can agree to stop or something. And I'm just wondering if you have any advice for something I can play this message for her, and she can kind of help know what direction to start with to kind of, you know, not engage in these patterns, for him to step out of that, and for her to, you know, not enable that. And I know there's probably
we would say that this is not a situation where there is necessarily a quick fix.
Yeah.
The most ideal route would be to experience a form of therapy that they are both open to and helps for both of them to release any patterns of control. So this reactive pattern on his behalf is a way in which he seeks to maintain the upper hand in the relationship. So the easiest way to avoid the pattern, if one did not want a solution and just wanted to not experience the pattern again, would be to give freely the idea of the upper hand in the relationship, to surrender. And when this individual would then feel in control, there would be nothing to react to. But that is not really a solution. So in order for a harmony to eventually arise, he must be willing to look at his own wounding and trauma that would cause him to use these negative displays of emotion to control the relationship. And he learned that this worked as a young boy, and now does the same thing with his partner. So if he was willing to look at that and change it, then the relationship dynamic may change as well, but we cannot guarantee that would be the case.
Is there something that could encourage that willingness?
A gentle, non-threatening approach that would ask for some form of therapy to engage with them.
To engage with the therapist. And
yes.
then would hopefully would come to light this pattern, and he can make a conscious choice, you know, that, you know, to work on releasing this pattern, and also get, he must be having a need. Maybe, I mean, he has a pattern to have the upper hand. That's not a need, but he must have some sort of need that's not being met, some legitimate need.
Yes.
I don't know if you could tell me more about that. Would you like to?
And well, we cannot divulge the personal accounts of this individual to that extent.
Of course.
Though we can say that that need would be discovered through these therapeutic processes, and this is the solution that would help the most, that we are aware of in this moment.
Okay, that you're aware of in this moment. Okay. Sounds like therapy is a great one, and I don't know if there's any other ones to do. I mean, neither do you, apparently.
That is the most approachable method, yes.
It's the most likely he would cooperate with. If he can be willing, then that is the most effective, probably.
Yes, some form of therapy is really the only solution.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I will share this with my friend, and I'm sure she thanks you as well.
Oh, well, thanks to you as well, then.
Anyone else? If not, I have a question, a short one. Would a portable Schumann generator would it be able to fully protect us from all sorts of radiation? Protect more like make compatible the disharmonious wavelength of various Wi-Fi or mobile signals, as the Essassani have recommended. And I was wondering if a portable, they recommended it for the overall Earth technology, but I was wondering if a portable or a household generator would harmonize those frequencies, would be able, and what that generator would imply, if it needs to have something special in its built, in how it's built.
Well, one tool would be simply attuning certain crystalline molecules to the Schumann resonance itself, and then crystallizing them or encasing them in something, and using that as a sort of permission slip. Keeping that frequency near you can help you stay more attuned to the Schumann resonance when you are having some sort of a physical separation from the earth, which is common when you live in places where there is much concrete, or you are on perhaps the second story of a building. They'll understand that if you have your feet on the ground, you are in contact with the Schumann resonance. So many of you do not even need a technology. You simply need to go spend more time barefoot, connected to nature, touching trees and so on and so forth. Now, even more complex devices would simply be those that send that Schumann resonance out as a vibration or as a inaudible sound current. And eventually devices themselves can be programmed to carry this resonance in some way.
Thank you. And a corollary one, would it work if we would put a rod in the earth and pull a wire and tie that wire to our legs, for example? And would it be a difference if we stay at the computer and get the radiation from the monitor or not? For example, use that wire in our sleep. Would it have any benefit? With a grounding rod and a wire tied.
Permission slip, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Slip. So you can also work with the technology of grounding pads themselves. If your house is grounded, you can plug in one of these devices that allows for that Schumann resonance from the earth to travel through this seeming grounding rod and onto your feet. So you can look up those grounding or earthing pads.
Yep, I've seen those devices, and some people were wondering if you have too much radiation in your room, electrical radiation, then you become the tension wire, and it's not beneficial. So it would be beneficial only if you use them while you're asleep or something like that, while you don't have technology in front of you or something like that. If you have any reflection about this as well, would be great.
No, it will not harm you if you have technology around you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. That is super useful. That would be all.
Yes, I thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, is it my turn now? My turn to ask a question, Sarah?
Go ahead, Laurel. Otto's hosting. I'm not hosting today officially, but yeah, go ahead and ask a question.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, on September 13th, I had a heart issue and went to emergency and had 3 nights in the hospital. And apparently, well, I declined the angiogram, but they saw a difficulty through an enzyme test and a stress test and an ultrasound. And so apparently I had a minor heart attack, and now I'm on a blood pressure medication and a cholesterol medication and aspirin to prevent clotting. I doubt very much. In fact, they said that there was a 95% chance that I had no ongoing blockages. I have a pretty good diet, and so I would be surprised if there were any blockages. But I'm still having some windedness upon climbing stairs, and also just sometimes some fluttering in my heart and some lightheadedness, which that latter is probably due to one of the medications. So I was wondering how to best support myself. I've never had a blood pressure problem, so but they convinced me that even though I don't tend to have high blood pressure, that it would be beneficial for my heart, irregardless, to be on the blood pressure medication and the cholesterol medication, fairly good cholesterol, and the aspirin. So I'm not in the habit of taking medications. I have one that for depression and anxiety that I've been on for many years, but I really not comfortable with medications, and yet I felt like maybe I should follow the protocol and for at least till the follow-up visit. And but I'm wondering just what you might say. And I'm pretty understanding of the metaphorical cause of the heart attack. I get it. And I'm trying to work with that part, but I'm wondering about the physical part. Hello?
Are we connected?
Oh,
Are
now
we connected?
Now I hear you, Pleiadian Council.
All right. Yes. Are you engaging in any breathing practices?
I was a little bit before. I was tending at the beginning of my meditation to do just like about 3 mild retention retention of the breath, just to start my meditation. And so because I think you suggested mild breath retention once, so but maybe I could do more.
Yes. Yes, more would be good. To breathe in that pattern, 4, 8, 4, or even adjusting it slightly. Doing shorter retentions would be good. To, as well, simply practice long and slow deep breathing. Taking in as much air as you can would be helpful. To practice something like Qigong would also help in maintaining a stable energy.
Okay, I missed the pattern that you wanted me to do with the mild breath retention. Could you, I kind of thought I knew what you meant by mild breath retention, but it might be better to hear it from you. I heard it from someone else a while back, but what does that look like?
Breathing in to the count of 4, holding your breath for the count of 2 or 4, whatever works, and then exhaling to the count of 4 and holding out the breath to the count of 2 or 4. Oh, that is okay. One practice.
Okay. Okay.
And also, you can extend the retention with time if it feels comfortable, making sure that you don't hold to the point of creating more dizziness. Beyond the retaining, in this case, we would say long and slow, deep breathing, simply encouraging yourself to breathe in as much air as you can and continuously breathing in a circular fashion could be helpful.
Okay. Oh, what would you say about the meditation? Medications.
Yes, those are all well and good. You could supplement as well with the hawthorn.
Okay. Speaking of circular breath, this, I'm doubting that you're implying by that, but many, many years ago, I did some sort of a circular breath under the guidance of a therapist, and I actually went into a place of unconsciousness. I didn't know I'd gone unconscious, but she said that I lost consciousness, and I came out sort of screaming in terror. It was not a fun experience.
No, we are not suggesting that form of breathing.
Right, I figured.
What we meant was simply breathing in and continuously breathing out without a pause in between. So balancing both the breathing with retention and breathing without retention. But the idea of breathing is to expand fully your lung capacity, using as much of it as you can.
Okay, and I don't want to take too much more time, but just briefly, could you, I've never known exactly what that experience was years ago, if it was an actual going back to my literal birth in this incarnation, or what was that?
Well, it was much like re-experiencing the birth trauma, going from complete unconsciousness into consciousness in a harsh way. So it was in a way a means of releasing some of that birth trauma.
Ah, okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, so thanks to you as well. Then are we complete?
May I ask a short question, please?
Oh, yes.
Hello. It's a physical question, and I have one short comment. But my physical question is, I have these cysts that I've had, a couple of smaller ones, and some I've lived with for some time. But as of recently, I have one on the palm of my right hand and at the base of my wrist that I'm going to have it looked at.
Yes.
But I'm just not sure whether it would be wise to ask for them to be removed or if it would be safe for them to be removed. I also have one on the bottom of my right foot. And they're only slightly bothersome, but I am curious about them. Thank you.
Well, you can see them as indicators of where energy may be blocked. So you may want to start some sort of practices like Qigong or anything that gets you moving your wrists, moving your hands, gently exercising them and rotating them.
Very good.
You may seek to have them removed if that is what calls to you. It will not really cause so much harm, though the only thing would be that they may simply come back or come back in a new location until you again bring the energy to flow more where the cysts are manifesting. One thing you can do to gently reduce and remove them over time, in addition to getting the energy to flow in those parts of your body, would be to place warm castor oil on them, or it can be normal temperature castor oil that you then cover off and use a warm bottle and put it on top of the areas where there are issues.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for that. And I just had to make this other comment, and I keep reflecting on the movie. Thank you. I keep reflecting on the movie Monsters, Inc. with respect to fear. And I think I may watch it again. Yes, I think it's very apt. Just want to throw that out there. And I love you.
Yes. Oh, I love you as well.
Thank you.
Yes. The energy of fear is something that charges so many of the systems that seek to control you. So the idea, again, of evil is an idea that actually upholds those controlling systems. And you can see that most clearly through the idea of your religion. In this instance, looking at your idea of a Catholic Church, those who create the biggest hubbub about the idea of evil are actually those enacting it. Yes? So your world is in a way constructed in a sense where the people that attempt to control you only have control because they have inspired fear within you.
Right.
And when you stop being afraid, and when you stop defining things that are negative as evil and therefore reprehensible and something that you must protect yourself from in ways that lower your own vibration, you can claim your power. And when enough people, again, come together in opposition to those who are controlling, then everything in your world will change. Though there is even a great fear in so many of your communities you have called spiritual, because part of what you hear is that whenever you resist, you create a persistence. What you resist persists. Though, again, you have forgotten that this is speaking to emotional experiences. So imagine somebody is attacking you. Do you say to yourself, what you resist persists in that moment, and simply allow them attacking you? No. So if institutions outside of you are attacking you or bringing you to attack each other, do you simply tune out of it and pretend it's not happening? No. That will not be successful. So many of you must face a reality check, and we do see it as well on its way.
Yay. Thank you, my friends.
Yes, our thanks to you as well.
I have a question. I don't know if you guys want to finish up, but do you have room for one more question?
All right. Yes.
Okay.
For you, we have the time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have kind of a potpourri of questions that are just kind of trickling around in my brain. My friend who channels the angels told me some pretty controversial information about a prediction for the presidency. And I guess one, I wonder if that prediction is valid. And two, I wonder if it is valid, if I should speak about it publicly like on Facebook, like here, if this video is going to be on YouTube. And I don't know if you have to hear the details to know what I'm asking about, or if you can sense it.
Oh, please share the details for the rest of the audience.
Okay. So she says that Biden will be elected and that Kamala Harris will take over the presidency. And I just wondered if you see that as a high probability in the timelines.
Probability? Yes.
And like, do you know like how high, is it a good probability that that will happen?
I think he's gone.
I think we lost him.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. My friend who channeled the angels just said, hands down, there was no doubt that Biden would be elected and that Kamala would be president. He's handing over the presidency to her.
I wonder if
And
that's a good thing.
they said it with such certainty. They've never said anything to me with that kind of certainty before. So
well, we'll see. There might not be a coincidence that he cut off at the moment he cut off, or they cut off. But I guess we would just start now. And they're back.
Yeah, if he doesn't come back on.
Do you want a lot of that? Can you refresh us?
Okay, wait. We lost you for most of that. What did you say? Oops. Are you gone again? Yeah.
Here.
You're there. Okay. We lost you for a lot of that.
A lot of
what did you say?
We missed most of that.
Okay.
The summary is?
Yeah, just a summary of how high is the probability that Biden will be elected and Kamala will take over the presidency.
He's disconnected again. Just at least on my end, it says that.
I think it's funny. We just have to wait for it to play out.
I mean, I think it's okay. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see. Because I've been working with these angels since 2009, and they've been guiding so much of my life for the last 11 years. And they always say, oh, there's a probability for this, and there's a probability for that, and we can see a timeline for this. But they told me this unequivocally with there was no doubt. So I was like, wow, that's never happened before. Laurel knows that. They're always telling us probabilities, right, Laurel? They're always saying this timeline and that timeline.
That's the same experience I've had. I work in the Akashic Records, and I tell people it's tricky with the future because I see so many possible ribbons, right?
There's so many ribbons, yeah. Oh, Dante's back.
We're back.
Oh, you're back. Yeah, so what do you see as the probability for these events unfolding?
Well, it is more likely that Joe Biden will win. There is a chance that the current president will be reelected. And in either case, there is the great potential for a revolution. And it will likely be a harsher revolution if the current president continues to stay in office. And if the idea of Joe Biden gets elected, you may find that there is resistance to that from the current president, and there are manipulation tactics at work. Either way, it will be a very interesting stream of events. So know that regardless of what happens, you must be committed to the sort of future you want to see and act in ways that will contribute to that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, our thanks to you as well. And our thanks to all of you together for contributing to this interaction today, for being a part of this grand exploration. It has been a wondrous pleasure for us, and we affirm to you once again that in this life, you are dancing through extremes and learning to find your center point, learning to find the oneness in everything that you witness, knowing that there is positive potential within everything that you may see as negative, and that even negative individuals, you can use the energy that they put out in a positive way, and you can create and inspire radical change by fully committing yourself to acts of love for the betterment of all. We thank you once again, and we look forward to our continued interactions with you in other ways as well.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dante.
Dante.
Thank you, Dante.
Love you.
Next, thanks,
Love
Dante.
you.
How
Thank
was
you.
that, everybody?
Thank you,
Wonderful.
everybody.
Wonderful.
Beautiful people.
Be with everybody.
Just biting some chocolate here. Hooray!
Yum, let's have a chocolate
We did it.
communion. Everybody eat their chocolate.
Chocolate party.
Thank you.
That was an intense one somehow.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, some intense stuff.
That was big.
How are you doing, Dante?
Tired, but good.
They said that we were just supposed to be in our little concentrated group. And so
Yeah.
that's why it wouldn't
Yeah.
go live.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because we were
Well,
talking
it
about
was
some
good.
deep stuff today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed so much of that last thing that you were saying. What were the angels saying? Was their exact prediction? 'Cause I
They
didn't
told
hear
me
I
point
feel-
blank that
can I-
Joe
can I
Biden
say,
would be
I feel that
elected.
this shouldn't be recorded. I feel they shouldn't be recorded.
Uh,
The full details. That is my full feeling of it.
okay, you could stop recording.
that-
Am I recording? It looks like I'm recording.
Yeah, I think you started the